If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that if you want to succeed in anything in life, find someone who is achieving at the level that you want and simply model after them. Now, when I say modeling, of course, I don't mean like Instagram modeling or, modeling on the runway. What I mean is you want to find that person who's achieving at the level that you want, and you want to begin mirroring or modeling the actions and the habits that they do. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. If you want to succeed like someone, figure out what they do, how they think, and do the same thing to get the same results. And so what we're talking about today are what are the top 10 millionaire habits that will completely transform your finances and help you become a millionaire. Now, these are the same habits that I used and I modeled after to quickly help myself go from moving to LA, only having $400, working all kinds of side hustles, barely keeping afloat, to within the next few years, investing in almost 20 rental properties, stocks, creating a business, and creating financial freedom and life on my terms. So that's what I want to talk about today. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are all about financial freedom, entrepreneurship, and living life on your terms, this channel is probably for you. So make sure you check out some of my videos after this. If you haven't done so already, make sure you smash that like button. Go ahead and just obliterate it. Give it everything that you have. Just go ahead and smash that for me. And let's kind of talk about some millionaire habits. Now, 11.8 million households are in the United States have a net worth of at least $1 million. And what that means is if you take the assets and you subtract the liabilities, 11.8 million households end up with at least $1 million plus in their net worth. Now, that's only 3% of the United States population, so it's not very, very much. So very few people actually achieve millionaire status. But on a global scale, those 11.8 million households represent 40% of global millionaires. So a lot of millionaires are concentrated in the United States. Another really interesting fact is that only 20% of millionaires have inherited their money. So that means that most people who are millionaires are first generation and self-made. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these habits. Now, the very first one is focusing on producing over consuming. This is a mistake that I made really, really early on. You see, our value, the amount of money that we make and the net worth that we create comes from how much value we bring into the marketplace. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not as valuable as a person. We are all equally valuable, but the amount of value that we bring to the marketplace will determine how much money we make and our net worth. So when you focus on producing, creating, and providing value to the economy more than you do consuming, going out and buying things, watching TV, watching movies, that will make a dramatic shift. This is something that really helped me out a lot because I used to be guilty of, working hard at my job, coming home, and then relieving stress by, watching TV, watching movies, and doing all those things. Once I started focusing on creating and producing, finding new skill sets to learn, and producing things from that began really changing my financial journey. Number 2, focus on self-learning and self-education. There's one thing I've learned from millionaires and from very successful people is that they never stop learning, they never stop educating. You see, formal education will earn you a living, but self-education can earn you a fortune. Now, when I came across this, that completely blew my mind. And when I started really focusing on learning, I started reading at least a book a week. I was watching videos, listening to podcasts. When I really started learning and developing the skill sets and the knowledge required to build wealth and to create success in all the areas of my life, I completely saw a shift in my own journey and my own finances and the amount of success that I was achieving. Number 3, learning to master my emotional states. Now, this one sounds kind of weird, but let me explain this. Anytime you have a result in life, so X result, so I want to achieve a millionaire status or a certain physique or whatever, well, there are certain actions that you need to take in order to achieve it, right? You can't just sit there and think about becoming a millionaire and just hope it just magically happens. You have to take action. But what a lot of us fail to realize is that it's our emotional states that determine the actions that we take. What do I mean by that? I'm sure you've had that experience where you had planned to go to the gym, or you planned on following a budget or saving money or whatever. But for some reason, something happened during the day. You got emotional, you got stressed out or anxious or sad. And instead of going to the gym, you decided to stay home and watch movies and eat ice cream. Or instead of actually saving money, your emotions came across you when you saw that item that you really wanted to buy and you couldn't control it and you went ahead and just purchased it anyways. You splurged. When we learn to control our emotional states, when we learn to master them, we learn to master our future success, because we can now engage in action. No matter how we feel, whether we're anxious or sad or depressed, or we have that urge to splurge money, because we can master those emotional states, we can say no, or we can commit to that thing even if we won't feel like doing it. Remember, knowing what to do is only part of the equation. Doing what you know really is the hardest part and one of the most important things. Number 4, creating a solid budget and paying yourself first. If there's one thing out of this entire list that you need to do, it's learning to create a solid budget and pay yourself first. It doesn't matter how much money in life that you make. If you fail to stick to a budget and pay yourself first, you will not be able to create wealth. I mean, we hear stories all the time from people who make multiple six figures, or even celebrities and athletes or musicians who make millions of dollars a year and end up going broke. And it's because they never learned to master creating a budget and sticking to it. Now, when I say pay yourself first, what I mean by that is you need to select a percentage that you want to save each month, whether it's 10% or 20% or whatever. But every time you get a check, you need to pay yourself. Take that percentage, put it into an account that you cannot touch, and you need to do that before you budget for anything else. So let's say you make $4,000 a month and you want to save 10%. Well, assuming that you get $2,000 a paycheck, that would mean that every paycheck, 10%, $200, needs to go to your savings first, and then you got to live off the remainder of your income. So learn to create a budget and pay yourself first. There are a lot of great apps like mint.com that help you create budgets, or you can do one on an Excel sheet or a piece of paper and just write it out. But create a budget and stick to it. This will help you create massive wealth over time. Number 5, stay broke investing. This is one I wish I had learned even earlier, because I would have had so much more money behind me. But what do I mean by that? Stay broke investing. What I mean is that you do not create wealth by simply saving money and keeping it in a bank account. You're only earning 0.01%. Your money's not growing for you. In fact, you're actually losing money when money sits in your account because of inflation. What you want to do is you want to create a system so as soon as that money touches your checking account from your paycheck, you immediately have it automatically deposited into a savings account, a small percentage to build your emergency fund up. But then right after that, the rest of the money needs to be going to investment accounts. You want to make sure you keep as little money as possible and that all of your money is going towards investment accounts. This helps for multiple things. Number 1, get your money working for you earlier. You cannot save your way to wealth. You have to have your money work for you. But also it forces you to live below your means. When all of your money is going to investment accounts that you can't touch, you are forced to stay within a certain budget. So it helps in multiple ways. Now this brings me to my next one. Don't invest in things you don't know or don't understand. Listen, we all have that friend or that relative that tells you to invest in something because it's really, really hot right now, or because they think it's a great investment. If you do not know what you're investing in, if you cannot explain it simply in a few sentences, or simply write it out on a little sheet of paper really quickly and describe to someone, then you may not want to invest in it. So you want to make sure that you are investing in things that you know and that you understand. Investing is great, and you have to do it to build wealth. But ignorantly investing and investing in things you don't know can really destroy all the hard work and the savings that you've been building up from creating that budget and sticking to it. So make sure you invest in solid investments that you know and that you understand, that compound over time. Number 7, learn how taxes work. Now, this is one that after you've created a budget and you're doing great and you're saving money, you're investing, you're mastering those emotional states, and you're doing very, very well, eventually you want to start learning how taxes work. You see, at some point, as you start earning more money, you start building wealth, part of your challenge too is to minimize the amount of taxes that you're spending. Now, I'm not talking about doing things illegally, and I'm not talking about not paying your fair share of taxes, but you don't want to be paying more than you absolutely need to. So let's say you get to the point where you're earning $100,000 a year and you're paying 40% in taxes. Well, guess what? That means that you're spending $40,000 a year in taxes. If you learn how to do taxes, and I don't mean by becoming a CPA, I just mean understanding how to use taxes to your advantage and proper and legal tax shelterings. Instead of paying 40%, you may only pay 20%, which saves you $20,000 a year. That is huge over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. So make sure you start to get a good understanding of taxes, and also make sure you have someone on your team, an accountant, a CPA, something that can help you make sure you're taking the most advantage of tax utilization. Number 8, get good at failing. This is something that is absolutely true of anybody who has succeeded. You try to show me someone who has succeeded at a great level and then who has not failed. Every single person fails on their way to success. You cannot climb a smooth mountain. You need the falls to learn so that when you get further along your journey, it's a stronger foundation. If we got everything we wanted right away without failing, we probably wouldn't keep it. So one of the things you really need to focus on is get good at failing. Be okay to put yourself out there and to fall down. If you fall down 6 times, get back up. Remember, you cannot truly fail unless you stop trying or unless you stop learning from the experience. Because every time you learn, you're going to be that much smarter and that much stronger for the next time around. So get good at failing. This is something that I did not do well when I first started. And so what happened with me was I had $40,000 and then $50,000 and then $60,000 in the bank. I was reading all these books, learning all these things about finances. I had all this knowledge, but I was afraid of failing. And so I did not actually put myself out there and start investing. And that cost me a lot of money over the years. So get comfortable failing, get good at it, learn and keep pushing. Number 9, surround yourself with the right people. Listen, you are an average of the 5 people that you hang around most. So you do not want to be around people whose lifestyles and whose goals are different than yours. It doesn't mean you can't hang around them. It just means you shouldn't be spending majority of your time. Listen, it's always easier to lower our standards than raise them. So if you are spending most of your time around people who are not helping you pursue your financial success, because maybe they're spending a lot of money on lavish vacations and buying clothes they don't have to have and all these different things, and you're over here trying to save money, well, very, very likely you will begin adopting those habits if you spend most of your time around them. So make sure you're around people majority of the time that are pushing you and then helping you excel the where you want to go. And the very last one is learn how to have long-term vision. This one's very, very challenging because building wealth, becoming a millionaire is typically not something that happens overnight. This is something that will take quite a few years. And so you're going to have to get really good at keeping your focus on the long-term benefits because you will have to sacrifice some short-term pleasure. Listen, when I first moved to LA, I was barely making any money. My first year I made $19,000 and I managed to save $9,000 of it. And I'll put a link in the description box below. But to do that, I was only eating on $5 a day. I was sleeping with 3 guys in a 1-bedroom apartment. I never went out. I never spent money on anything. And when I tell people that, they think like, wow, how could you have ever done that? That sounds miserable. And yes, in the short term, it was challenging. But the reason I was able to do it was because I stayed focused on the long-term benefit and the long-term result that I was going to get. So learn to master long-term vision. It's like Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else now, so later you can live like no one else. Be sure to take short-term sacrifices for long-term pleasure. Well, that is it. Those are the 10 habits that completely transform my life. If this helped you, please be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure you share this video with whomever you think could actually utilize this. If you've hit that millionaire status already, comment below. I want to hear from you. Talk about your favorite tips. Or even if you haven't hit millionaire yet, how are you saving money? How are you investing? I want to hear from you. So comment below. Let's get out there and let's crush that millionaire status.